morning, TGIF. Here's the S&P daily with the SSI snapshots. They are selling everything nearly, and they're long dollar CAD, dollar Swiss, and they're long dollar yen. All right, so a little bit of softness on the dollar because of the fact that they're long, and these should all appreciate because they're selling. But it's a little bit bonkers that they're short on everything apart from these three. So S&P, we've got a very nice support. It's got multiple respects off that line. And see, Wednesday was a little bit naughty, and that really encouraged them to sell. And obviously, we saw the reaction on the sentiment, and it did actually look quite bearish, to be honest with you. It really did fall, and it convinced me that it was going to fall. And obviously, they pumped it just to entice those positions and got those guys involved. And so, if we look at a smaller time frame, and we can see how they sold it, and by selling it, it's pushed price higher. So that's how that works. And if you're wondering why X is going up or down, it's very likely to do with sentiment, because it wants to engineer and to push price to punish, and also to get their capital and their liquidity. And you could probably argue they want S&P to come up, but these aggressive moves are probably likely sentiment based because it's liquidity probes. So there we had a break, so they could technically say, a decent buy. You can see how we had like a diagonal break there, channel break, and then you buy that breakout there, the diagonal thing. So technically you could probably argue bullish, but really a lot of these moves are impulse in order to extract as much money as efficiently as possible from the retail guys. So there's our buy, and also you could say technically, we had that breakout, didn't we? So, and it coincided with that. Also, interestingly, I was testing yesterday with a MACD indicator, and when the MACD was saying buy or sell, the retail guys were doing the opposite of the MACD, which I'll tell you about next week. I'm doing some more testing, but it just coincided. They were not only sentimentally against the grain, but technically as well, according to this MACD indicator. I might be able to show you actually. It's called the TMAC. This is a weird thing, all right? That's fine. Keep the default values. Now, see what happens is that we get the buy indication from the MACD. We're going up, we can see, right? And there's obviously that move, but they sold it. So they're running counter to the technicals, and so obviously they're getting punished. And also because they're showing us their hand, or they're showing their hand to the banks and the market makers, they push price against their bias. So you can see how I'm looking for maybe trying to have a conjunction of the sentiment and the technicals, and perhaps something like a MACD, whereas it's very simple to use. And when we have the crossover of the zero line, and when we get the buy, then we can use the two together, right? So there's the buy signal. We went above the zero, so you've got the technical thumbs up, sentimental thumbs up. So we can use the sentiment on its own, but I do like to have an oscillator there just for confidence. Whether or not these are the right values, that's why I'm testing, but that's just something I'm looking at right now. So it's the TMAC indicator. It's a triangular MACD. So I'm not sure if that's like the oscillator to use, or we could use RSI, but it just goes to show that these guys are very counter trend to the technical, and when they show us their hand, then they get punished. So what's happened is that they sold it, so we created a support, and then they sold it again, so we created another support. So those boxes that I drew in Discord, they're punishment zones. Okay, and so more testing today, and I quite like the idea of an oscillator just to give us like the extra bit of confidence, because we can use this, but it's nice to have another thumbs up from the technical indicator. So they sold here on the Dow, and they were getting absolutely rinsed on that move. So so they've got a support zone. They went long here. Obviously, they got punished. And then they sold it here. The price came up. And then they went long, so price fell. Can you see? They went long. So it mirrors the price performance has mirrored the sentiment almost perfectly. They sold here, and price came up. And so they sold again, so we can create another box. So every time they sell it, we can have a support, because price should do the opposite and use that as a support to push price higher. And if they obviously, if they go long, price should fall. Okay, so that's how you use it. Very, very simple. Everyone should be using this setup. It's amazing. It's really, really good. And it's funny, I was going through Telegram yesterday, I was trying to find a file, and I went back to 2020, and I sent everyone, make sure you've got the trading station. It's really good. I've been saying it for 3 years. Okay, so it's worth getting. It is amazing. So DAX has created a zone which is holding currently. They've gone long, and you could also probably say technically we've probably created some supply up here as well. So we've got a supply / punishment zone, and it is currently holding. Don't know if I can elongate that. Probably not. But you can see how that's going to be a resistance, right? And they've gone long, so price can fall. Gold. We might be getting a buy. That's the thing. The lines are quite close now. So there's the sell because they went long. So we can create a box here, obviously, and then we sold it in the Discord channel, and hopefully you took that recommendation, and we fell. This was a nice trade, and then we fell again, which are saying, we are quite extreme now. I'd recommend selling here, and we broke our level and we fell, and so we've had a very good week on our gold forecast in shorting, and last week was really good in buying. So I'm quite happy the last 2 weeks for our gold forecast. So potentially we're going to get a buy, and then we're going to come up to a box that we would create from that line, that crossover. So this would be the level 1940 to 1944. So that would be your target if we make a buy here, which I think could be likely. So got to be a bit careful. And so I won't waffle on anymore. And so we had a buy in EU. So we should probably have 108.65 support, and then that's it. So I'll do a Patreon video now. I'll make that a quick one, and then we can get on with things. And I wish you a good weekend. I'm going to do some more testing on that oscillator, whether or not that's like the right oscillator or the best oscillator to use. But it might be an idea just to give you that extra level of confidence. And you see how we went positive on that MACD, and price performance went positive, but yet the retail guys were so counter trend. They got punished, and they tried to fade the technicals, and then they got destroyed. So that's it. So have a good one, and I'll speak to you guys soon.